at least 2 months before the end of each financial year, the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance shall submit to the National Assembly estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the national government for the next financial year to be tabled in the National Assembly. Really, we must accept that different organs have different constitutional obligations. And the obligation in this case is clearly spelled out in 221. It is an obligation that moves from the Minister for Finance to the National Assembly. So I think what I would suggest you do, because we are not running away from any constitutional issue, if you are able to ask the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance how he proposes to address the violation, then you come and ask me, is this, does this meet the constitutional threshold? Then I will have an obligation to answer that question. I don't need to tell the National Assembly what its role is, because they know what their role is. I don't need to read the Constitution to the National Assembly, because they're able to read and understand what the timelines are. And they know what the timelines are. And it is in pursuit of ensuring that we keep to those timelines that we had that agreement in terms of the internal process. But I think if we are to move forward as a nation in terms of implementing this constitution, then we need to acknowledge, as I said, and I think this is something that to a certain extent had been feared at the commencement of the implementation process. We are beginning to see the reality of the political will necessary for us to be able to implement the Constitution. We're beginning to see the reality of that political will coming into doubt. And what we must do as a country, we must ensure that that political will remains. And this is why we are urging everybody. We are urging the individual parliamentarians. We are urging the political leaders, specifically the President and the Prime Minister, in their capacity as leaders of the political parties that appear to be in difficulties within the National Assembly. We are appealing to everybody to rise to the occasion and ensure that their political differences, which it's their right in the game of politics, it's their right to have political differences. What we are saying is that to allow those political differences to impede the implementation process, which is a situation that we are now staring in the face, it would be a fundamental betrayal of the Kenyan people in their trust to all of us, to ensure that the Constitution that they so overwhelmingly endorsed in August last year is actually implemented, so that the people of Kenya can get the benefit of that Constitution.